Hi, I'm Chief Dave Brogan. I'm here with Chief Hart today, welcoming him to my office, and we're going to talk about some summer safety tips.
Awesome. Thanks for having me here.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we are now entering we have entered the 100 deadliest days of summer, right? And a lot of that talks about traffic crashes between Memorial Day and Labor Day. But I think there's some more specific things that you may respond to, and some incidents involving some drowning and that throughout our community.
Right. A lot of times when people think about a drowning, they're thinking of a large lake trying to swim across a large expanse of water. And the reality is, most commonly, a drowning takes place right in a local swimming pool. And actually, for kids between the age of 1 and 4 years old, it's the #1 leading cause of death, except for birth defects. So it's something to take very, very seriously. And about once or twice a year, we tend to get a drowning. And so it's a very traumatic thing for everyone involved, obviously. And it's another good time to talk about learning CPR for everyone in the house. We've had a couple of drownings in the last 2 years where the family members have found a child, pulled them out, started CPR. Our guys have got there, took over CPR, and the child made a full recovery. So that you can have a positive outcome, but ideally you're going to prevent the drowning from taking place in the first place.
Yeah, such a huge responsibility as a parent, right? And you think of that 1 to 4 year time frame, and I remember it kind of hitting me when I was pulling away from the hospital with my wife and our first child. Is there's no warranty, there's no owner's manual, there's nothing there, right? So that education you get ahead of time and being able to, respond quickly when your child is in crisis is essential. And our dispatchers do a fantastic job. They do emergency medical dispatching, but the best way to take action is to train yourself up ahead of any type of an incident. And I know you had reached out to me at some point over the last several weeks about a child possibly falling into a hot tub. And those are always very scary incidents. We can't talk specifically about it, but I believe that there was a very positive outcome on that case. So think about those, the tubs, the hot tubs, any body of water around your house. And even for those that are vacationing, Chief, I mean, don't you feel that kind of arming yourself with some knowledge about, let's say if you rent a place on a lake somewhere, and the different life vests and things that you can do to prevent tragedy?
Yeah, absolutely. You should always have on a life vest if you're going to be out on a big body of water. A lot of times, my kids were all on the swim team. They're all very good swimmers. When they go out, I make them wear vests, because if you get hit in the head, something happens, and you fall in the water and you're unconscious, you need something that's going to keep you afloat, and you want to make sure that it has a seal on it from the United States Coast Guard. That's the organization that will make sure that it's a good, safe life vest to keep you healthy. So. Yeah. Another thing to think about, most of the drownings that take place in backyard swimming pools are not where people knew that we were going to be in the water. It's where kids get out kind of unattended and make their way to this body of water without anyone knowing about it. And so just to kind of if you have a pool, be sure that you keep the fence closed and locked, and make sure that it's not accessible by any young kids, because it's just such a tragedy. And another time, and that leaves, so that's 70% of them. Those 30% of them take place in backyard pools, with there being the parents are still around, but a lot of times you're sitting here talking and not paying attention. The kids are making noise, and they sometimes will call the drowning a silent death, because you go underneath the water and you don't hear them screaming for help. You don't hear anything anymore. They're underneath the water, and if there are other kids playing around, it easily 5-10 minutes can go by before someone's realized that something happened. So just something to be mindful whenever you're around a body of water. Everyone's having a good time, but just take a extra mindfulness for safety.
Yeah, and a lot of times we see each other on traffic crashes that are throughout our communities as well, and sometimes road rage is involved, and sometimes it's distracted driving, whether it's a smartphone or a GPS or radio, I've been in my personal vehicle before and observe people FaceTiming or video conferencing with someone while they're driving a car down the expressway, and it's pretty scary stuff, and it just takes milliseconds for something horrible to happen, and of course the outcome for the firefighters and the police officers and those that are responding and the family members, it doesn't take much for the laws of physics to really take over and have a tragedy on our hands. And we're really asking for everybody to be mindful follow the speed limit, the traffic control devices, whether it be a traffic signal or a stop sign or a yield sign. We need people to really, we're counting on you to get it right when you're behind that wheel, because that's a heck of a way to meet your police and fire department is at the scene of a tragedy like that. So please be mindful of that. Think about the drownings and the accidental incidents that can happen throughout the city that with a little bit of foresight we can try to mitigate and prevent. I know on a lake that I go to on Memorial Day, there was a 39-year-old man who had lost his life. And it really rattled my son, who's 22 years old. I wish I'd have known about the Coast Guard thing ahead of time, because he went out and spent some money at a local sporting goods store to buy one of those inflatable ones. Mm-hmm. So if something were to happen, and I'm not so sure, I'm really convinced that that's the best choice, because if you do get thrown off and you're unconscious,
right,
how are you gonna pull that cord? Right. So something's a little better than nothing.
Yeah,
but
something's better than nothing.
Yeah.
Right. And that same weekend, the child drowned at Kensington.
Yeah.
Which is also a local place. I know a lot of people travel out to Kensington, like to go to Camp Dearborn, and just like going out to that area for recreation. And it just, a lot of times, just like a car accident, people think this is something that's not going to happen to me, because you drive all the time, go swimming all the time, and it's the last thing that you think of. However, we respond to car accidents every single day.
Yeah.
And so that's why, common sense, wear your seatbelt, drive, don't speed. That's another common thing that we see.
Yeah.
And then, of course, if watch out for people on motorcycles, and if you're on a motorcycle yourself, watch your speed, wear a helmet, take all the proper safety precautions.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, another thing we run into in summertime is recreational fires. So there's every year we get multiple calls about recreational fires, about what's legal, what's not legal, and so there's a set of rules that we want to follow in Dearborn Heights, and these are all designed just for safety in mind. If you're going to have a fire pit, be sure that you have a means of extinguishing the fire nearby. Make sure that you're being considerate of your neighbors. You don't want to be burning yard waste. You're designed to have you're supposed to use seasoned, dried firewood. That's what the fire pits are for. And so you just have a nice recreational fire, have a means of extinguishing it nearby, and be sure that you're considerate of your neighbors. Even if you're following all the rules and the atmospheric conditions are such that the smoke is just hanging around and going right into everyone's house, we could still ask you to put the fire out, just because we're a pretty densely populated area, and so if it's not fair to your neighbors, if they're having a hard time breathing, they have to close all their windows just because you're having a fire. So, if you're following all of these rules, probably that's not going to happen. The dried firewood will burn pretty cleanly, and the smoke will go right up into the air. But just something to keep in mind.
What about a chimney? I've found that those generally burn a little bit cleaner and more respectful of your neighbors, and you can only put so much in it.
Right.
So it's a great way to enjoy the warmth, and I like a great campfire.
Yeah.
So that could be a great way for
and that creates that draw too, and that kind of helps feed the fire and points the smoke up and out of the neighborhood.
Yeah. You can still roast your marshmallows or your hot dogs.
You can still get all the benefits of a fire.
Yeah,
for
absolutely.
Sure. Okay, well that's it. And so, Chief, thanks for coming.
Hey, thanks for having me over here at the fire department.
Absolutely.
Next time, maybe lunch.
Sure, you're buying.
Yeah. All right.